Live from the Zoom studios, the 17 and Me Show, starring Ambassador Jeff Rivero, inviting you to join our special guest,
Ambassador Dr. Todd Brown, founder of the Inspire Project and co-founder of the Operation Outbreak.
And here we go!
Welcome to the 17 Me Show, the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals Show. Tonight I have a special guest, a friend of mine, Dr. Todd Brown, who's an ambassador for the United Nations. He's also the co-founder of Operation Outbreak and the founder of the Inspire Project. Todd has won the Ignite Education Innovation Award, along with many other Teacher of the Year awards, including the U.S. Congress Teacher of the Year. He's also a nominee for the CNN Heroes Award by Harvard University. How are you doing tonight, Todd?
Good. Thank you for having me and getting a chance to talk. I always have fun with you, so I'm looking forward to this.
Well, it's great having you here. I appreciate all the help you've been doing for our youth around the world, not only in our nation. And I appreciate how you try to bring to life science and also inspire or try to open up the passions of our students when it comes to science and STEM. The first question I'd like to ask you, can you tell our audience a little bit about your background that prepared you for your mission to help our youth? What was the infrastructure that led to your success? And what did you do before starting the Inspire Project?
Yeah, so, to be honest, I was one of those kids that was always in trouble in school. I was always looking and doing 25 things instead of what I was supposed to be doing. Granted, some of the things that I was looking at felt more interesting to me than what we were learning. And I actually had a teacher when I was in middle school pull me aside because I was driving her nuts and tell me that I would never amount to anything in my life, which was in retrospect kind of crazy when you think as a teacher to ever say that to a kid. But, because of things like that, I thought, I had this meandering way of getting into teaching. I was always a teacher, but just in a different field. I was an exercise physiologist, so I worked with professional Olympic athletes in teaching them and working with them, preparing them for their season or whatever it may be. And I realized that I was just teaching outside. And as I started working with more youth athletes, I realized how much passion they had and how many things needed to be channeled more than stopped. And I was finally convinced to get in a classroom really when I moved to Florida from where I was initially, which was in New Jersey. And getting into the classroom, and it really ignited a passion in me, seeing how kids responded to somebody excited. That's part of selling the curriculum, right? Is being excited about it. And it goes back to in that deep-rooted time when I was in 8th grade about the teacher saying what she told me. And I thought, if I can help change a kid's life or path in a positive light and take somebody that would say that to a child out of the classroom and can replace them, that really helped motivate me to work with the kids. And as far as infrastructure goes, I gotta be honest. I've always been kind of a rogue teacher that just has ideas and runs all over the place. And it helps when you get support from the administration and the parents and buy-in from kids. So it may be an idea that I've come up with or fostering another idea from a kid or whatever it may be, but it's always nice to have that support and allow that freedom to run with some things and see how it goes, because you know how education is. Good education can be sloppy. Right? It's not always perfect every time you get something, you have this idea and you try something. I touched on it briefly. I was always an educator, always wanted to learn. I always wanted to teach and always wanted to be engaged with different levels of students and adults as a physiologist and as a professional athlete. I've always been interested in learning and understanding things. So I think all those things combined allowed me to connect with the kids, because sometimes mentally I'm 14 years old still. But also being passionate about something, right? That's what we're here for, is to get excited and passionate about learning and helping people improve not only their lives, but the people around them.
So you brought it up. It's not my fault, but I always like bragging about your little bit of time with the Baltimore Orioles and their minor league system. So can you tell us a little bit about maybe one of your best experiences with the Orioles organization?
Yeah, well, first off, I wasn't very good, so that's why I'm doing what I do now and not playing, although I'm old now. I tell you what one of the best, I think, life lessons that I got out of being a professional athlete. We could be playing anywhere at any given time, and somebody wanted an autograph. Somebody wanted me to sign a baseball card of mine, and to feel how that felt for somebody that actually wanted to talk to you and wanted to know you is so interesting. And then when you step out of the limelight, if you want to call it, even in minor league baseball, when you step out of the limelight and get into the general population, where in reality, a lot of times you can walk down the street and no one cares. That dichotomy of experiencing both of those was such an eye-opening experience for me. So I, as a teacher and as a professional, I want to provide opportunities for kids to feel what that's like and to help them get to that, whether that means they're recognized on the street, which is fantastic, or feel good about themselves because they've contributed to something that has meaning. And that doesn't have to change the world. It could just change the scope or the path of their lives. You know, that's something that's really important because it makes it easier to learn. It makes it easier to want to engage when you feel good about yourself. So that's some of the things I think that was important.
So Todd, can you tell us, when did your passion for starting Operation Outbreak come to life? And what was the moment that pushed you all in? You said, this is what I'm going to do.
I think it started, I should say, I know it started not from me. I try not to take credit for any of this stuff because it really started with a student. And you know, as a teacher, Jeff, how important it is to kind of read the room. And then when you feel the class or students really lean in to be engaged, how you want to run with it. And then try to figure out a way to tie in the curriculum with what they're excited about. And it really started, I can tell you exactly, it started in 2014. I asked the question in a civics class. This is middle school, 7th grade kids. How is compelled speech embedded in the First Amendment? Which is a kind of a crazy question to ask that level of student. I had a female student raise her hand immediately, and I thought, oh, this is great. I can't wait to hear. And she answered with, what happens if Ebola comes to the United States? Which had nothing to do with the question. And I said, I don't know what happens. And all of a sudden we had all of these different things going on and conversations and hand raising and talking about what I saw in the news. And we started talking about, okay, so let's embed what we're engaged in with right now with the curriculum, which happened to be levels of government. So how do levels of government, how would this all fit into it? What does the local government do? Who alerts the federal government if something were to happen? Like, how does all this work? And we got so excited about it that it ended up being about a 2-week lesson where I was pulling in amendments and pulling in levels of government and international affairs and all of this infectious disease that was happening in West Africa. I was excited about it. We had to kind of bring it to an end at some point and wrap it up. And I reached out to Dr. Pardis Sabeti over at Harvard from a Time magazine article that my wife had bought a magazine, brought it home. So I started reading it to my child as a bedtime story, and thought Pardis was so amazing and cool. Reached out to her and for an autograph, and then we kind of struck up this relationship through email. She Skyped with our kids. It was a really amazing opportunity, and because my child has severe immune issues, you know, infectious disease is something that we always had in the back of our heads, but not to the scale of building something like we've built now. And with the help of Pardis and Andreas Kalubri, who we call the mad scientist from MIT and Harvard, we really got together and started thinking, how can we make this better than just something we teach in a classroom? And we started to elevate it into this experiential learning opportunity where we simulate a pathogen circulating on a school campus, and it's student run. So they have different groups in which they are part of, whether it's a triage for treating students or whether it's the government issuing funds for the different groups, epidemiologists, military, all these different things. And we allowed it to just run its course and see what the students would do. and seeing how they responded with such excitement and passion and just being so inquisitive and so fully immersed into it, that I was in. I was like, this is unbelievable. There isn't any kind of curriculum like this anywhere at this point, not with the elevation of the simulation that we're doing. And the kids were so engaged that I thought, I have to figure out a way to scale this. And with the help of some of the best, infectious disease professionals in the world that are interested, then it just kind of snowballed to where we're at now.
Well, Todd, this is my favorite part of the show where I get to ask our guests, which one of the 17 SDGs is their favorite and why?
I would think 3 would have to be, just from virtue of, infectious disease and what I'm really engaged and embedded with right now with Operation Outbreak, and how we can really galvanize a generation and multiple generations of students now. Nothing engages someone more than when it affects them. And unfortunately, we're in the pandemic, and it's crazy to think that we're actually in the 4th calendar year of this, right? It started in 19, and then we've gone 20, 21, and now we're in 22. And while there's been fluctuations, we're still being affected by this, regardless of what your belief system is. And some of the things in the way that we have responded as a public, while it's frustrating, we've never been taught. No one has really ever experienced something like this, except for when you look back at the Spanish flu 100 years ago. So how do you expect people to respond, quote unquote, properly when they don't know anything about this? They've never been taught about this. So this is an opportunity to change not only education, but change the way people respond or heighten their awareness to public health through infectious disease education. And then by doing so, it makes it easier when someone at a higher level issues some type of policy or mandate. I understand now why you're doing it. And when I do that, that makes it easier for it to be accepted and people to go, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. So therefore I will follow this. Nobody wants to be told they're stupid. Nobody wants to be told they're wrong. So when somebody doesn't follow a mandate and then everybody bashes them and says, oh, you're a moron, you're not doing the right thing, of course there's going to be resistance. There's going to be even more pushback. But if I can understand why this mandate was issued and how it affects me, my family, and the community, that changes the scope and that changes the vision of how people react and respond within the community. So that is really, that is my passion all of them are important, don't get me wrong. But for me, that is really what we're honing in on because of what we're dealing with now. And are we going to have pandemics forever? Absolutely. Are we going to have outbreaks within pandemics or outside of a pandemic? Absolutely. But the more awareness we have and the quicker we can respond and the more proactive we can be instead of reactive, the better off it's going to be for everybody, including me as an individual or my child or someone else in the classroom. That's the important thing.
One of the things that I find so fascinating about Operation Outbreak is the timing. Because right now, as you say, we're going through a pandemic. And it's exciting to me as a teacher to watch, because my hope is that one of the students that you work with in Operation Outbreak, or multiples, are going to get excited about being in science. And one of them may end up, because of your class, come up with some type of invention or cure or help for us in the future. So from an outside history teacher looking in, it's very encouraging to me that you're going to be able to help some students along the way find a passion inside themselves to excel and achieve for us.
Yeah, and there's that duality right there. Like you just said, part of it is, can we excite somebody enough or groups of students enough to jump into public health because they may not have had any understanding of what that means, or infectious disease specifically, and become a Nobel Prize winner, or change on a local or community level some policy that helps people. That's one level. And then the other level, like I was just talking about, is just general scientific understanding of public health, of virology, of vaccinations and things of that nature. So it makes a little more sense as to why things are happening the way they are happening. And we can hopefully change the way we respond to a situation like this, even in a smaller scale, for kids that hadn't even been born yet, because we're learning, and we know this, that the more we learn, the better off we'll be. So there is that duality, right? We want to create and hopefully inspire somebody to be the world beater scientist. But science permeates through everybody's lives. Every time you turn on a car, every time you breathe, it's science. And it's interesting because my background is social sciences, and my background is in history and government. And it's important for people to understand why policy is based on scientific decisions and research. And again, it all comes back to understanding at all levels.
Another fascinating aspect I see within the program, especially your Inspire project, is that's one way we met was 50-50 Day with Tiffany Schling. And it was trying to ignite or bring out passions in girls to get into the sciences. And I see that through your Inspire project, how many women scientists you have.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, subjects, especially science, and science is a very, very broad topic, really, because you have the social sciences, you have the psychological sciences, there's so many different things, but it's not siloed for one gender or one age or one race or one culture. There's so many people out there that have so much to contribute, and they may not even realize they have anything to contribute until they're exposed to information and shown that, hey, listen, what you may think science is may not actually be what it is. And there's so many different facets that there's an opportunity for somebody to fit in something that's a little bit different than what they had these preconceived notions. And when it comes to females or anything in general, it's really important for somebody to have an opportunity to see themselves in a specific field. It's very, very difficult to feel like I can succeed as an individual when I don't see myself. I'm a white guy. That's pretty easy to see myself everywhere in every facet. But that doesn't mean I have more to offer than anyone else. But we don't want to discourage people because we don't have that equity across all disciplines. We want to be able to show that, hey, it doesn't matter, again, your height, your race, your gender, it makes no difference. You can contribute it in certain ways. And it'd be nice to be able to see yourself in these opportunities, to afford people these opportunities.
Talking to a few people that are into science, ladies especially, I came across Danny Washington, Big Blue and you, and it was a women's conference for Green, and I was trying to learn because I have a daughter myself, so trying to learn some things that I can help her to overcome barriers and roadblocks. And at the conference, it was a very unique and informative for me to find out how many roadblocks and barriers there are for women getting into STEM. So I would like to ask you, when it comes to roadblocks and barriers, what were some of the things that you had to overcome in your life? And do you have any type of best practices to get over problems or barriers?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing to understand is everyone has roadblocks and barriers. Some people have more than others, obviously, when we talk about equity. But everybody has roadblocks and barriers. And it's really the mindset of understanding that they're going to be there. It would be unrealistic and really kind of setting yourself up for failure if you think that your journey is not going to be full of, or at least partially full of, these roadblocks and barriers. So it's not necessarily about what they are, it's about how to overcome them. And that's really important. I think that, from a student perspective, well, from everybody, but especially a student's perspective, when they're younger, the world is so overwhelming when they start to open their eyes to see so many different things. And one thing, which I have a friend, Brittlestar, who is a comedian in Canada, awesome guy. He just put out a little newsletter, and it was, to paraphrase it, that's not my bear. And meaning that when you can look at so many different things going on in the world, you can get so concerned about all the bears out there to get you, or all the bears there are that you have to deal with. And sometimes it's just not your bear. You can still be concerned or interested, but let's focus in on certain things that you have passion about that you can move forward. And in order to move forward, hey, you don't have to change the world today. Let's start small. right? Think about it. Even I was looking up something just the other day, Greta Thunberg, her first picture skipping school in August, I think it was August 20th of 2018, sitting on a corner protesting climate change. It was her. That was it. And then now look however many years down the road, what we've seen and what she's generated. So start small, and being an individual is okay. And then from there, you'd have to think about connecting with like-minded people. There are quite a bit of poisonous aspects to social media and the internet. But one of the silver linings is the hyper connectivity that we have now gotten used to. I can connect with anybody from anywhere at any given time, as long as the stars align and I bump into them and we start to talk. So surround yourself with like-minded people that understand the passion and have experience that you can draw from as you start small and start connecting these dots. And the other thing too is don't get discouraged by haters, right? There's always going to be people that say, you're stupid, you can't do this, what are you thinking? Why are you doing it? It's a waste of time, all that crazy stuff. And I was just reading a study the other day that it had to do with Reddit. It was literally 0.1% of all Reddit users generate 38% of attacks on others, and 1% of accounts on Reddit, only 1% basically contribute to 74% of attacks on Reddit. So it's a very, very small percentage. And when people focus in on the haters and go, oh, look at all, it's really a small percentage of people that are doing these things. So it's important to know that there's going to be those roadblocks. There are going to be people saying no, but surround yourself and insulate yourself with like-minded people. Start small, start moving forward. And, it's when you connect with those kind of people, you start building. You can't build a house without a good foundation. So create that foundation with these people. Start small. Don't try to move too fast, and don't look at what I've accomplished today. Look at small goals over a course of time and look at the long term. What am I trying to get to in 3 years, 5 years? And how am I going to do that today, tomorrow? These little baby steps, as Bob Wiley would say. And what about Bob?
So one thing I try to tell students also is, if we could take your life, for example, you were playing in the minor league baseball, and the roadblock was being able to hit more home runs, and you weren't able to achieve that, but it opened up another door for you in Operation Outbreak and the Inspire project, which I would guess right now, you're more fulfilled doing those right now than you would have been if you had 5 or 6 more years in the minor leagues. Is that true for you or no?
No, absolutely. Every experience has something you can gain from every experience. I gained a lot of insight and understanding through professional sports. As you're gonna, even in baseball, no matter how good you are, you're gonna fail far more times than you can succeed. So how do you deal with that? Had people, when I did something wrong on the field or didn't get a hit and score runs or whatever, people booing and yelling. We had haters, but they didn't hate me, they hated my result. So what do I do to change that result in order to accomplish a goal? And the other thing too is I got to travel an enormous amount. And at the time it was exhausting and I hated it sometimes. But now in reflection, I've been to almost every state in the union and multiple countries around the world. So that experience and that understanding of how people are different in different parts of the world and their similarities, there's something to gain from that. So just because one door closes doesn't mean another door is not opening. And what can I use from that closed door experience to help step through the next door and build upon that? Again, it's just a journey, right? And you're always collecting information of what to do and what not to do in the next step of your journey.
I think your life is a perfect example of that door closed, but had that door not closed, you wouldn't be on the journey you are now. And in some ways, I truly believe you're going to help kids open up their passions for science and hopefully jump in and save lives or help people through their health issues. Or it could even be on the Weather Channel, because I know it's her name, Stacey Abrams, or she's from the Weather Channel. So you might even get people interested in the science of weather to become a weather person. So I think you've done an outstanding job, and you're a perfect example. Like I said, where one door closes, it opens up a river to go in an even better direction for yourself. And having stated that, would time's really flown by tonight. But before you go, I'd really like to ask, do you have any words of encouragement, inspiration, or insight for our audience or our students to inspire them?
Jeez, you kind of put me on the spot here. Yeah, you know what? Always ask. My wife says it all the time. It's always no unless you ask. No matter what you think or who you're involved in, hey, put yourself out there. The worst thing that can happen is somebody says no, right? And it doesn't work out. But again, you gain experience as to what was good or bad about that. And then how can I use that to better myself and have a different opportunity? So always ask. I'm continually told no all the time. And I have crazy ideas that are just absurd. But until I investigate that and look through it and work through it and get feedback from people, you're not going to learn anything. So always ask. Always try to push yourself forward. And if it's a no, it's not a reflection on you. It's not because somebody doesn't like you. It may not be a good idea. That's okay. We learn from it and we grow and get better.
Todd, I really appreciate you being here tonight. I'm looking forward to being part of your Operation Outbreak, and also it won't always be this way. I believe that's May 16th. Do you mind giving our listeners and viewers a little bit of background information on your upcoming events and any websites or links that they can go to?
Yeah, so operationoutbreak.org is where our home repository base is for Operation Outbreak. It's a free program. One of our mandates from our incredible supporters is that everything has to be free. We have a 15 series, a video series with Crash Course that we've done on outbreak science, the first one ever. We have a textbook that we're almost finished up with. We have the first and most robust Operation Outbreak or infectious disease app that can spread a pathogen via Bluetooth over electronic devices. We have all these different facets. It's all free. We're looking for more people to get involved, because the more people who get involved, the more we learn and the more people we can help in the community, in your community and beyond. As far as the Inspire Project, the May 16th event is, it always won't be like this. It is basically a collection of guest speakers. Again, this is free to your school if you're interested. It's not a lecture, it's a discussion. It's a Q&A discussion with the speakers. Teachers and kids can talk with these speakers and different guests. We're looking for people that are fighting the fight, right? They're environmentalists or they're overcoming adversity in some manner. We're looking for people to have quality. I always say it's like a fireside chat without the fire. We're just having conversations about their lives, their experiences, their passions, and maybe that'll ignite something in yourself. And if not, it's always amazing to hear from other people that have succeeded and had to deal with failure and overcoming obstacles. We have 9 unbelievable speakers that'll take place on May 16th throughout the day. So anybody that's interested can email me at theinspireproject.net, and then we'll go from there.
Well, I hope I pronounce his name right, but the author of Call Me American, Abdi Noor Iftin.
Yes, Abdi Noor Iftin, correct.
Yes, he, our class actually joined in with you on one of your Inspire projects and listened to this author. Our kids were enthused. I ordered the books for them. The students read it and did a book report on it. And it was such a great experience for them to actually interact with the author of the book, read the book, and hopefully we'll be able to touch base with him again and go over some of the information that we've learned about his life. It was an incredible life story. You want to talk about roadblocks and barriers. It's amazing that he's alive, let alone an American citizen today.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's such value, right? There's such value in speaking with people instead of reading about it. It's great to read his book and things, but then to have a conversation with the real person, it really changes your perspective of the entire situation that you've read about.
So any viewers out there, ask your teachers to look up the links and try to sign up for this event. I'm positive that students and teachers alike will be very impressed of Dr. Brown's project. So appreciate you being on our show tonight. Teachers and students, if you're interested in the 17 Sustainable Development Goals or teaching it in your class, please go to teachsdgs.org. Thank you for being here today.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was great. Thank you.